Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
thank you for having Jenny. Yeah, that was an amazing introduction, because you're absolutely right, Elizabeth. Jenny is second to none. I've known her for about 3 years now. And when I first learned about her mission and her vision for the world, we talk about mission, vision, values, but this is somebody who actually lives them every single second of every single day. And so I was excited to bring her on. She is the founder of Project Kind. It is a registered nonprofit. It's based in Rockaway, New Jersey. They focus on homeless outreach, and Jenny is the heart and soul of Project Kind. So thank you for being here, number one. Number two, you want to dive a little bit further into what exactly Project Kind is and who it looks to serve?
Sure. Yeah. So my hope with Project Kind from the very beginning was that we would be able to create ways for people to come together and share what they have with those in need, and then to go out and serve, right? And to make these connections with people and hopefully inspire them in some way to move forward. So that's what we've been doing for the last really 8 years, because it just started out simply as an outreach that my daughters and I were doing.
Yeah.
And then it grew from there.
So take us back, if you don't mind, a little bit to how that outreach started. I find this so interesting because it was you and your daughters, and you were inspired by your son, Kental. And it started out as just a how do we live our values sort of thing. So can you take us a little bit further into that?
Sure. So early on in my marriage, my family decided to take in foster children. And in doing that, we ended up taking in 15, over a few years. And one of those children, we ended up adopting. His name is Kental. And he came to us when he was 1. And at 3.5, he severely regressed. So he was given a diagnosis of childhood disintegrative disorder, which is considered very severe on the autism spectrum. So at that moment, I had to make this decision, do we adopt him or send him kind of back into the system? And in that moment, I had to think, okay, is this child just as worthy now as he was when he first came to us? And for me, that was a really defining moment in my life, about, well, who am I really? And what does it really mean to live out your truth? Right. So I did adopt him, and he is 16 now. And with that, we all just kind of grew so much and learned so much, from him, this child who was nonverbal and
who still is nonverbal. I mean, he's 16 and he's made tremendous progress, but you can't discount this was not a simple, there's going to be some struggles. This was a life-changing decision you made.
Yeah. And I knew at that moment that it would change everything, but what that would look like, I had no idea, so I just had to go back to what my why was in the beginning, and know that I needed to move forward and trust that everything I needed, I would be able to find within me, So we cared for Kental, and we still kept taking in foster children. And at that time, we changed who we took in to kids who were considered difficult to place. And that was only because of Kental.
Your experience.
Yeah, our experience. So at one point, I wanted to sit down with my daughters, my biological daughters, and have a conversation about what it meant to live out your truth, what our why was, and see where they were at. And during that meeting, we came up with 3 truths. And they were that everyone is worthy of love, everyone has purpose, and that no matter what your situation is, we all have something to share and give. So we decided to try and live that out outside of our home. So much of that had been focused in our home with the children and my son. So we decided to go into the inner city. And really, at that time, it was just spend time with people who maybe needed to be reminded that they were loved. And we ended up at Newark, Penn Station, and we would bring whatever we had, which really wasn't much, a few peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, if we had a few hats, if it was cold, and we would just go and sit and
recognize them as people, which many of them have not been recognized for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So we etched out some time each week. We would share our meal with the person sitting next to us, get to know their story, and over time, we started sharing people's needs on social media. And that's when we kind of started. That was the first step in kind of the growth we saw. Was I would wake up one day and my entire porch would be filled with items that we were asking for. And not even that, like letters to the person whose story maybe we shared. So people were feeling this connection, you know, and it just was through me sharing it with them, but they wanted to be a part of that person's journey.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we started. And it was just, again, you know, my family going, and then it grew.
And let me just, I'm gonna ask you to sort of backtrack a little bit, but you sat with people, you recognized them, but it wasn't an immediate process. And I think this is really interesting because a lot of us try something or we feel like it's the right thing to do and it doesn't go exactly how we envision it going in our minds. And so we give up, or maybe this isn't the right thing, or maybe I'm going to put my efforts elsewhere. So when Jenny has talked to me about this, she said, you know, it took a long time. Like I couldn't just go sit down next to somebody. Sometimes I would have to spend weeks just trying to elicit like a smile out of somebody by trying to establish eye contact, because for so long, you know, people who are in this situation have just been passed by. It's almost like they're not even there. So it started with these very small steps, you know, eye contact, elicit a smile, then maybe here's some food. Now let me sit next to you. And then the biggest one of all is, here, you want to talk on a video and let me share it with people. But when people did that, and when they had reached that stage, there was something that was completely liberating for them about being able to speak and have people listen. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've found is, you know, people will come to me and ask to share their story. So I feel like for them, it's this opportunity to be seen and heard, and they haven't been seen in a long time, you know, I mean, because if you think about the person maybe you see sitting under that bridge or on the sidewalk, I think very often people, you know, avoid eye contact. And I don't think it's because they don't care. I just think it's because they don't know where to start. Like, how could I actually help that
big
person?
Yeah.
And you know, that's one thing I wanted my girls to know, is that you don't have to know the answer to a problem to be a part of the solution. You know, you just have to go. And if you feel led towards someone or something, just make that first step and then let it go from there. You know? So yeah, people contact me all the time and see me and say, you know, I want to share my story, you know,
and I love that.
And then we do.
So let me ask you, what does a day in the life of Jenny DePaul as it relates to Project Kind look like? Elizabeth, you mentioned that she's out on the street every night in Newark delivering sandwiches by herself, which is absolutely accurate, like every night for the past 7 years. But talk to us a little bit about, what is your day like? What does your day look like when you're working for Project Kind and the people that Project Kind serves?
Yeah. So, I mean, each day I really try to be intentional about, you know, letting my heart lead me and following that pull, like I talked about, you know, that I feel towards something or someone. So, I don't have a great plan for the day, really, you know, but I do now run the Kindness Closet, which is now an extension of Project Kind. And that's our space where people are able to share what they have and drop it off, like all those donations. And then we open it up to the community and people can come in and take what they need for free. So I'm running that. And then we have groups and people who come in and, you know, make the sandwiches or write the kind notes or, you know, volunteers. And then at night I go out and I deliver those to people who are needing them.
Who need them.
Yeah. But, you know, even in my nights in the outreach part, that mobile street outreach, when I'm, you know, sitting with people, I'm not just, you know, handing them a sandwich and walking away. I really am sitting with them. And for me, it's, you know, you can meet that immediate need, but there's something about that interaction, you know, that so much can happen with that, you know, if you're open to it. So I really try to build on the relationships.
It's taking that extra step, right? It's not just a matter of feeding your belly, but feeding your soul, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, we focus on the people in need. So it is people who are experiencing homelessness, but also, you know, families that are facing eviction. Maybe there's food insecurities. Maybe their electricity has been shut off. So we get emails every day from families from all over the country saying, you know, we've been following you and we're facing this hardship and, you know, could you come? and I will, like, I'll fly wherever, and because I want, I want to meet them,
Yeah.
and then I kind of put their story out there, and I see if anybody can meet that need.
Yeah.
So creating those opportunities for people to come forward and be a part of someone's journey is also really important.
It is. You talk about that all the time, being a part of the journey. Let me ask you this. This started very, very grassroots. What have you found has been the biggest challenge in growing and scaling, I guess, a nonprofit organization?
Yeah. I mean, so with Project Kind, we're really trying to fill in the gap where maybe other social service agencies, a lot of the time that are bigger, they're not able to maybe keep up, or maybe somebody isn't meeting the requirements, that are needed for them to be served
by that particular agency or wherever. So these are the people that are,
they're
a lot of them.
That has always been my focus. I like to help the people who they have tried everything, and for whatever reason, the way the system is set up, their needs are not being met, but their needs are important, and they're worthy of, of having these things. So those are the people we've focused on.
Yeah.
So for us, really, it's the monetary piece is difficult.
Yeah. That's the biggest need, is really money. I mean, you've got tons of food and clothing, but I think it's the challenge of every nonprofit is financial resources, right? And
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we just kind of, like I said, I do what I can where I can. And, I was thinking back to when we did our very first outreach, me, Lily, Annabelle, and
your daughters.
Yeah, we served 4 people. And I know through COVID last year, I think we served 75,000 or closer to like about 80,000 people. And I'm,
that's amazing.
It's really, and that's not because of me, really. It's because, it's just giving people a way to give. Yeah. That's doable for them. They will. Yeah. And, every give is equally important, whether it's a sandwich or, $100,000 or, you're going to touch someone's life. And that's what it's about.
What would you say are some of the mistakes you made, or maybe top tips for if somebody's listening or watching and they have an interest in being part of a nonprofit, or even perhaps starting their own? What advice would you give them? Mistakes you made, things you did right?
I mean, so, I never intended on this turning into a nonprofit, right? Yeah. So it was really about just doing what I feel led to do. And kind of, for me, it was seeing what came to us. And I think what was important for me was, at one time, a lot came to me. Yeah. A lot of offers from different people that I didn't expect would ever know my name even. Yeah. So it was about being careful about, what direction do I want to go in?
It's easy to get scattered.
It's so easy to get scattered, and making sure you just stay focused and remember, what your why was in the beginning, because things can kind of, well, for me at least, there was just a lot of offers from different people and things like that coming to me with different ideas. Yeah.
Right. And it's easy to get, and it's the same thing for any business owner. You have all these people coming at you with all this advice. You can't do that. You can do this, do it this way. No way, do it that way. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed with all of that. But for you, the key, and I think for many of us, probably the key is just going back to here and figuring, okay, which one of these things gets me there, right? Where I want to go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Stay focused. Remember what your why is. And, a lot of people thought that, I shouldn't be doing some of the things I was doing, but I knew it felt right to me. Yeah. So, I know people always say, like, I'm in the inner city in the middle of the night and things like that. And I can't tell you how many times people have told me, like, you shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. But it is the best part of what I do.
It's the part that keeps you going, right?
Yeah. It is where I feel the most comfortable, the most at ease, and where I've just been completely welcomed. You know, you have to think of it this way too, like I'm going into their space.
Yeah.
They're welcoming me in.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm not doing them a favor, you know,
Yeah.
they're letting me be a part of their life. So it's been a great journey for me. And the amount of people that have come forward and helped along the way, I mean, thousands of people. So I get to witness all these acts of kindness, like multiple acts of kindness
Yeah.
every single day, which is amazing for me.
It gives you a little faith in the world.
A lot of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to give Jenny a second before we wrap up here. She's always involved in, you know, she went to Texas last year in the winter when they had the huge ice storm and there were tens of thousands of people in the freezing cold without power. You've raised money for hurricane victims. You have a bureau over in Africa where you're building schools for children. You're always, you know, as any nonprofit is, looking to raise money so you can serve more people. You've got fundraisers coming up, and you also have a book that's coming out as well. So if you want to talk about those two things.
Sure. Yeah. The fundraiser is going to be on December 2nd. And our hope is to, you know, raise some money and raise awareness. And then the book is called Why Kindness Matters.
Okay.
And, you know, it's about why kindness matters, like, you know, how important it is, and kind of my journey and story. And I share people's stories that we've helped. And there's some testimonies from them. So that's coming out.
And I think one of the cool things, and I'm going to ask you to let people know where they can get more information about both of those, but I've been to a number of Jenny's fundraisers, and she always has people there who have been impacted by Jenny, obviously, and by Project Kind. So people that have moved from homelessness to housed, and people who have been impacted, it's just remarkable to hear them sort of witness for what Project Kind does. But where can people get more information, either about the fundraiser, perhaps they'd like to attend, or perhaps they'd like to donate, and where can they buy the book?
So projectkind123.org is the website. So the fundraiser information will be on there. And then whykindnessmatters.com is the website where people can pre-order the book even.
Pre-order the book. Yeah. And is it on those standard sites like Amazon or? Okay. So there you go. Isn't she amazing, Elizabeth?
She is wonderful. She's brave. I mean,
right?
We have these brave women on this show today.
She's remarkable. Thank you.
Done. So yeah, so I wanted to hand it over to Victoria and say, Victoria, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's amazing what she's been doing, kind of like all by herself. You know, that actually shows you the power of a mission, like power of, you know, a purpose-driven project like the Kindness Matters. I just have a couple of suggestions for you. Okay. You know, in retail merchandising, we always offer the good, better, best. So, you know, I do a lot of volunteer work, and I've actually worked with the LA mission, San Diego mission, you know, all these missions where homeless people, you know, get a little bit of help. Have you thought about raising money, like maybe like once a month? Are you in New York or Jersey?
New Jersey. Okay,
so if you're in Jersey, I mean, it's like Restaurant City, right? So you could do New York or New Jersey. And if you basically approach some of the restaurants, number one, all restaurants have like things that they can't sell after a certain amount of time, like, you know, 5, 6 o'clock, they'll have X amount of bread or, you know, salads, all the stuff that they have to discard. So, you know, you can kind of approach them that way. Hey, we're going to solve your problems. You can take a tax deduction, all of that. But you might take 1 week out of a year. And it could be, you know, have the restaurant people, like restaurateurs who would participate in them, and you would highlight them, you know, you would give them a press release and all that, but tell them, like, you know, that week, if they order an appetizer, but they don't eat it, so it's actually better for their weight loss and all that, that restaurant can donate the money to you, and you'd be surprised how much money you actually raise and how many, you know, people are dining at these places that are like $20-$30 an entree, and you're telling these people this is all going to the homeless people. And, you know, if you get a hit rate of like even 30% of, you know, the diners, especially if you just have to pick like 10 restaurants and just really highlight them. And that gives you press coverage to go to press. and it'll give you some awareness of who you are, what you guys do, and how simple it is for people to just order an appetizer and not eat. I mean, it could be that restaurant, you just have to pick a course. Like it could be something inexpensive, like a $10 dish.
Yep.
And that's just how I would go about raising, and if you do that, like Restaurant Week, for example, or Fashion Week, there's all this stuff going on in New York, the Tri-City area. I would think that would be, I mean, you still do the gala, like the fundraiser event and all that, but
Right.
you got to be a little creative these days.
You know what, Victoria, I've never heard that before, but I would gladly give my dessert to a homeless person.
Exactly.
Don't need
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for
Right.
those people that really, really want to eat it, they could order too.
There you go.
Exactly. I
So-
mean, it would be such selfish thing to do to, go to those places and not. And I just have to tell you, I mean, I work with the LA Children's Hospital, Rady Children's Hospital here, St. Jude's. We did when I was at HSN, our old CEO, Mindy Grossman, who is now with Weight Watchers, approached me with the idea of doing Christmas ornaments, like all the designers. I think there was like 8 of us. Designers gave our time to create a Christmas ornament. So when they buy something in December for everybody else's gift, we did this beautiful Christmas ornaments that are like, they were huge like this. They came with the stand. We got like Swarovski, all this company to kind of donate the materials. I donated my design services. And I think there were 8 different ornaments, but I think they raised a couple $1 million because they were asking people, you're already buying Christmas ornaments anyway, just buy it here. It's like $19.99 and all of the money goes to St. Jude's. So, there's a lot of different ways. When I was at the LA Children's Hospital years ago, a lot of those moms approached me and said, like, most of the moms that are volunteering are people that are so connected. Like they have a kid that's, got terminally ill. Like they're just so emotional. Like they can't talk about it like without crying. So they asked me, because, I have a business brain, to come and kind of run the whole, like, the fundraising part of this. And so, I mean, just, that's like an easy picking because you're kind of working on their guilt trip a little bit.
Yeah. I like it.
We have a couple minutes. Kenya, do you have any comments about this?
I just want to say what you're doing is wonderful. It sounds like you're doing street ministry in a way, right? You're taking what, goodness is and you're spreading it along to people. And I'm sure people appreciate that, especially during these times. So I just wanted to just say thank you for what you're doing because it's important, super important.
Yeah,
I think one of the things, I'll just jump in very quickly, is that, and this is a challenge for, I think, every nonprofit right now, but the need is so great, especially now during the pandemic. There's mass amounts of people who lost their jobs, who are food insecure, who are without need. And then does that affect donations at all? Did you find that donations decreased?
Yeah. So during COVID, I found that a lot of social services weren't running.
Yeah.
Everybody shut down, So Project Kind we kept going, we kept open because the needs just came pouring in, and it wasn't the regular people, that were coming to us. It was this whole other group. Now it was people who have never really faced a financial challenge before. And now here they are, they've lost jobs, they've gotten laid off, or it just opened us up to a whole other group of people. So the needs grew. So did the opportunities for people to come together, communities to come together and share what they have. So we just kept pushing forward.
Yeah.
So we just kept sharing it, sharing the needs, sharing the stories. I was out every night still through COVID, and, seeing people on the street that have never been homeless before. And people gave.
Yeah.
They gave, the food, the clothes, all of those things. The monetary donations kind of remain the same though.
Yeah. Right. So your resources are stretched thin.
Yeah. And we've had so many now offers and people requesting Project Kinds in their areas, right? And there's so much potential for us to grow. But with that, most people are going to want to get a salary. Like not everyone's going to do this the way I've been doing it. And it requires hiring people and, overhead and all of that. So we could grow, but we definitely need that monetary piece figured out.
projectkind123.org. If you really want to impact a life, and you see the person who's absolutely going out and doing it herself, please donate, please look it up, come to the fundraiser, buy the book. You know, it's this is a wonderful thing that she is doing. So we'll be right back after this message. You're listening to Passage to Profit on WOR 710.